Not every man truly dies.
Hello there, my little fluffers. Welcome to episode 16. This is an interview with Ross Whitehorn from Krakon Games. Not Kraken, Krakon. He did actually tell us this. The reason it's called Krakon, but it's not in this recording, unfortunately. This recording is a bit wonky. Yeah. We're having a bit of issues with, I'll be honest with you, we're having a bit of issues with Zencastr at the moment. It's, I don't know what's going on with it, but we are struggling to make it work. Unfortunately, because of that, we've had to use the backup recording, which is a lot less of a decent quality. I've done what I can with it to make sure it's listenable, and I hope that it is, I really do. But, yeah, so, as much as I hate it, I'm about to do some shilling. I hate the idea that I'm shilling whilst attached to a episode that doesn't sound as good as the normal stuff that we do. But anyhow. So, the Patreon is now open. As of time of recording this, there are two different tiers. There is the $1 a month, which gets you the satellite shows. So you'll get the Fluffenhammer, and you'll get the Fluffenhammer satellite shows. At the moment, there's a little one just running for a few weeks as we're just setting everything up for the next one, which would be quite good. At the moment, it's just the Noise of War, which is a little look at the music that runs in the old PC Warhammer-based games. That will be followed by Crawlhammer X-Quest, which is going to be an RPG actual play, which is going to have a lot of stupidity. It uses Silver Tower as its base, but is a full-blown RPG. I've wrote a story that is ridiculous, and if this works and people like it, then we'll come back and we'll be doing more of that. That will be followed, much further down the line, by a series of shows with Chris, who we've had on the show a couple of times, and we're going to be looking at old games that have vanished into the mists of time. I say mist, Mordheim is going to be one of them. The original Warhammer Quest, stuff like that. We're going to be looking at a lot of those games. Then maybe after that, that'll run for a couple of episodes, maybe 5, 6, 7. And then after that, there'll be another season of another show, which is going to be looking at games that aren't Games Workshop based. So that's going to be something that we're going to be looking to you guys out there for, to suggest what to look at so we can do the research. It could be Warcraft, could be D&D, whatever you fancy. So that's what the plan is. And those shows are going to be swapping in and out. They'll be doing a season and then being replaced by another one, and then it'll come back down the line. That way we're always getting something different out there for people, and after all, it is your money that we're asking for, so I'm hoping that this is going to be something that you guys enjoy. So the two tiers are $1 a month gets you all of that, $2 gets you all that, plus MP3 recordings of all of the audiobook readings. That way you're getting an MP3, and I'm going to go back through and I'm going to clear a few of them up, I think, as time allows. The first few will be out almost instantly, I think, and that will be there for you guys. Is that everything? I think that's everything. So, if these shadows have offended, think but this and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here, as this Fluffenhammer did appear, and now to bite the lizard man's tongue. Goodbye, dear friends. Ere long. Words, welcome to the Fluffenhammer. But there is no George with me this week. Oh no, unfortunately, this has been a week of technological apocalypse. This has been a week where every single part of the Adeptus Mechanicus has turned around and bit me in the ass. But with no George being here today, there is something else that I'm going to talk about. And it's a man who I've been wanting to get onto the show for quite some time. And we've actually tried to get him onto the show once before, and then the technological apocalypse I spoke of before happened. And that man is Ross. Hello, Ross.
Hello, Adam.
Hello.
how are you doing this fine morning where this time round there is no snow, there is no cold, it is sunny, actually?
It might be over there, still pretty overcast here, but the snow's mostly gone. So yes, less snow here, but just as cold, I think.
Actually, yeah, it's -2 at the moment, so I find that surprising, looking at the sunshine outside. So, Ross, you are a man of great interest to me before you do such interesting work. Would you like to give the listeners at home a little idea of who you are and the work that you do that I find so interesting?
Certainly, yes. I sculpt mostly for myself these days for my company called Krakon Games, but I also do freelance work. It's pretty much where I started doing the work, part-time, sort of casual on top of my main job at the time. I've done some work for Krakon Games and Bad Squiddo, of others out there. But as always, it's more fun to create stuff for yourself, being your own boss, as long as there's an audience for what you're making, of course. That's always the compromise. But yes, you're more motivated doing your own stuff, and that's how Krakon Games has come about. See me having my own vision for miniature range, putting it all together. It's been about 18 months, 2 years, I think. 6 Kickstarters down the line, and a somewhat amalgamation of different things all put together that I call a range. But it's growing and it's becoming some kind of entity.
I remember one of the conversations we had last time was that we were talking about the fact that the fiction is kind of growing underneath you, and it's turning into it's evolving as it goes along, because all of the different jigsaw parts are all being plugged together, and it's starting to become a whole. Yeah.
It's easy to get distracted, or as I like to put it, inspired. You suddenly get this urge to sculpt something that wasn't on your radar up until 5 minutes ago, and then you find yourself building a unit of them. A good example is the gnomes, which I put out on Kickstarter last month. They pretty much came out of nowhere, and then I always feel like I couldn't just make a project that sits on its own. It's got to be involved in the picture somehow. So that they've been brought under this sort of umbrella term called Creatures Underground, and it's a bit of a step away from where I was heading with the Fomorians and the Irish mythology sort of stuff. But I am always trying to build that into the same world. But yes, the Creatures Underground thing is an idea for me to put out some smaller figures, because I always do slightly oversized models, and people only sort of want one of each, which is great. But obviously people like to build armies for various other games. So being able to do infantry sculpts that people might purchase multiples of and encourage me to sort of make more and more and more of them. That's something I've been sort of wanting to do, but wasn't quite sure what sort of models to do first. But gnomes just kind of happened, and so they've sort of been, I suppose, the flagship for this new smaller model venture that I'm sort of doing this year.
I remember, I can't remember the name of the guy's name now. You can tell that this is an early morning recording. But there was a guy out there in the sort of Old Hammer and Middle Hammer community who sculpted a load of gnomes out of night goblins. And the stuff that he was doing was really cool. I remember watching that, and then all of a sudden out off to one side, the old stuff, which I'd already been paying attention to, suddenly these gnomes started to pop up. And I remember sitting there just going, oh, that's clever. That's smart.
I found his name now.
Yeah.
Rob Wheeler.
That's the one, Rob Wheeler. Oh, you've actually speak to the guy.
Yeah, around January he posted up some lovely conversions of night goblins. He'd essentially sculpted noses and beards on them.
Yeah.
Changed shields and stuff around. And it sort of started off a little bit of an avalanche, I suppose. Everyone started going, that's a really good idea. people started drawing gnomes, sculpting gnomes, converting gnomes, and all of a sudden there were gnomes everywhere. And I couldn't help but have a go as well. So I sculpted one inspired by Night Goblin Spearman he'd done. I think it might have been his first conversion.
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt like I was kind of bullied into doing a range of them. But naturally, people always go, "Is this going to be cast up?" if they like it, and you kind of go, "Well, I do always have that on the back of my mind. You know, being a sculptor, you always think, is this something you can make into to make people happy?" But yeah, my caster messaged me, and he simply put, "Cast it, cast it, cast it, cast it." So I thought, okay, people obviously want this to happen. So I spoke to Rob and said, "No, are you all right? Obviously, this is inspired by your conversion. Are you all right with me doing this?"
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Yeah. He's interested in getting some himself." So,
so you're selling the gnomes that were given to you by him to him. The idea came from him, and now you're selling the idea back to him.
I suppose, yeah. I am going to send him a free set, but after that first initial sort of Night Goblin inspired one, I took the idea slightly to the side. I kept the silly hats, but I sort of ventured away from the Night Goblin sort of appearance, pose. They're all a little bit more forlorn looking, and sort of I pushed them towards hand weapons and pickaxes and stuff.
Yeah,
so I got the idea that they're living underground, trying to get at gems and the like, relics and so forth.
There's always something in your work that reminds me of the sort of old hammer, almost like that 80s era of fantasy. The Flight of Dragons, the old hammer fantasy battle. And there's always this sense of exploration when these things start coming out. I know we're going to talk about it later on, but the little fungus people you've got, the Myclings. Myclings? Yeah.
Yeah, I evolve words into things, try to make them unique. But yeah, when people say, "How do you pronounce it?" I don't know. I wrote it down. I've never actually said it out loud.
You had me on the spot there. Myclings? Am I saying that right? Yeah, hold on.
Who knows? Well, there are. I looked into other companies who do the whole mushroom people thing.
Yeah.
I think Mikey is. I think it's Greek fungus or something like that. So I took that and appended something to the end of it that was unique but suggested a species.
See, now you got me thinking of just adding Saurus to the end of it. Having a giant mushroom dinosaur. Oh, man, that'd be amazing.
Half the research I did on the frozen fauna stuff was looking up scientific names of bugs and things. Because a lot of the concepts are sort of hybrids. So like a frog and a beetle, and you try to merge these words together that doesn't sound like some German amalgamation of a whole sentence. So that's easy to pronounce, but has its roots in science.
And I do think if you're going to combine a frog and a beetle, it has to be called a fruital. Fruital's a great word. Yeah.
I think it was the frog I did it's got like a lamprey mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So some kind of bloodsucker or something, and you end up merging words, and it looks like it's pronounced frog. Yes, some of the words aren't so great.
So let's go right back to the beginning then. Where does all this come from? What's the journey that you went on from as a small child right the way through to this company that you've now built and that you've now turned into your main source of income for more than anything else? Because Krakon Games is now your main passion, isn't it? It's your main job.
Yeah, currently it's the main thing I do. I do commissions on the side, freelance sculpts. My previous job for a good 10 years was web development. I still do a little bit of that whenever my old employer reaches out. It's always good money for that. Mm-hmm. But I'm much, even though the pay is less for sculpting, at least currently, I enjoy it so much more.
Yeah.
It's than writing e-commerce websites for rainwater tanks, at least. But it's that kind of decision you make in life. It's like, do I want a miserable job earning decent money, or do I want to wake up every morning and realise I can create stuff and sell that to people?
Yeah.
It's more appealing. If it's a struggle initially to obviously market stuff to people like that, but it's working at the moment, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm glad it is.
Where it will start, sorry,
no, I was just going to say, I'm glad it's working for you. I know how difficult trying to do anything outside of the, should we say, off the beaten track when it comes to making a living actually is. It's very, very difficult to do anything with it.
It is, yeah. It's constantly evolving for me. Obviously, a certain approach doesn't work. You go back to drawing board, as they say, and look at different ways to do things. And it's constantly a lesson for me. Every time I do something, every time I put out a project, seeing people's reactions, looking at how other people do it, and yeah, it's never straightforward. It's always different each time I do something.
But it's not
It's interesting as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know from my own personal experiences, it's you're trying to build your own pathway here. There's no like policies and procedures for the company that you can use to go, right, so this is what I do when this happens, and this is what I do when this happens. It all has to be off your own back now. It all has to be from your own imagination.
So it's fun, but it's also quite scary.
Oh yes.
There's nothing to fall back on when it goes wrong.
Yeah, yeah, that is the scary.
That's
part.
why it's good to have lots of different things going on at the same time. So
yeah.
don't put all your eggs in the same basket.
So what is the journey then? Where does it begin?
Where does it begin? I got into the whole wargaming thing as a kid. My brother, I can't remember if he bought it or got it for his birthday, but 1989 he got Space Hulk. My older brother did, and it's pretty much was GW from then on for a good 20 or so years. They're obviously the biggest and most visible thing on the market. So and they put out so much stuff anyway. There's plenty of things to get involved with. But yes, I did 40k from the Rogue Trader days onwards. Warhammer from 3rd edition onwards, pretty much all the specialist games over the years. Still got a fair few of them. Did that for a good 15 to 20 years until we set up a club at our local place, which initially was just again Games Workshop stuff, but around that other companies started growing and becoming more apparent, and see people playing other games. Privateer Press, Friends of War, various other games started appearing. But around that time, I went to university, and where I studied in Stafford, I couldn't find anyone playing any of the games, so I sort of boxed it all up and left it for a few years. So I kind of missed. It was around the time that sort of Mordheim had just come out, and we got all the Black Gobbo and War Master, all those sort of things. There's a bit of a black hole in my sort of collection and memory for the hobby. So,
that's a shame, because stuff like Mordheim's an actual classic.
And it's so valuable as well.
Yeah.
I could have a gold mine if I could take it. But yeah, I stopped blip at uni. I played Magic for a few years. It's the only thing I could find local.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Until I came back to hometown in Tamworth. The club was still going, so I jumped straight back into it. But there were a lot more games going on, a lot more companies.
Yeah.
It was almost overwhelming, really, because the club had sort of lost focus from playing these games over and over, to do tournaments and leagues and stuff, to everyone playing a different game every single week. And sometimes it feels a bit fractured. It's like it's difficult to run a campaign because people only want to play one game a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, over time, I've obviously tried all these different games, bought into a few of them, and the collection suddenly not just GW, it's 100 other things. And that's where it sort of dawns on you that there are so many of these companies and games and miniature ranges out there. Why not give it a go yourself? With the birth of Facebook and inevitably everyone being just a click away, so much easier to communicate stuff, to show people your work. Even adding all your childhood heroes on Facebook. Chambers shop, and it's sort of like, it feels a bit surreal. You only ever read about these people in White Dwarf. Now you can talk to them through the computer. The world's a lot smaller, I suppose.
It's a very strange experience, isn't it?
It is, yes. It's about 4 years ago I started dabbling in going beyond just converting models to actually trying to sculpt some for myself. Always, every step of it, wished I'd done it a lot sooner. I could be done doing this 10 years ago, maybe longer.
Yeah.
I feel like I've wasted a big chunk of time when I could have been more established now, but it's not going to stop me having a crack at it now.
No, it's never too late to do something. That's the important thing.
Definitely, yeah.
To take away. It's I'm not sure if you're aware about one of the things I do is I've set up an audiobook production company, and that's one of the things that I'm currently working on in the background. And the thing that I have learnt in doing this has been, holy crap, there is a lot of work before you can even get to releasing something.
Yes.
And that's the thing that no one ever tells you. That's the thing that it's always in the... it should be like, number one, you will not get close to releasing product for at least 6 months. Because there's so much stuff before that you need to do. And even things like trying to build a presence, it is really hard work.
Yeah, because there are so many others out there.
Yeah.
There's so many places as well. But that's the other thing, even when you get your product ready to launch, it's like you then got to hit your audience, you've got to market it, you've got to get people seeing your stuff. You can't just go, right, it's out. That's only the beginning.
Yeah.
That's something I've found. I can stick a new model up on my website. I can post it on my Facebook page. Facebook these days, you might get 20 people might glance past it. That's it. You've really got to put the work in then to get people to see it, to reach out to them.
Yeah.
That in itself is a big job. Yeah,
it is. It's a full-time job to use any kind of social media in order to try and grow your business. That's why there are people out there who charge large amounts of money in order to be able to use social media for you, to advertise you.
Yeah.
Because it does take so much time.
Yeah, potentially it is a full-time job for people. So doing that on top of trying to sculpt and market and package and post and everything else, there's a lot that goes into it. It's sculpting every day.
So we're now into Krakon Games has opened its doors and you've started releasing things, starting to get a little bit of buzz, and then you catch my attention with the Fomors, or the Fomorian, and then I start throwing money at you. Thanks.
Was a good thing.
Thanks for that. I might be destitute and hungry, but I've got my Fimmer at last. Where did the...
Well, just think you're feeding me by not buying yourself.
Where did the idea of doing the Fomorians come from? The heavily Fimmer-inspired, fantastic one-eyed party lizards?
I think you kind of answered it there. Yeah. Not the party bit, but the Fimmer are obviously a huge inspiration for that.
Yeah.
The first model I did was the who I call Morrigu. She's had a couple of name changes over time. But the idea was to put out a female spellcaster, just as at the time, a one-off model.
Yeah.
Because getting like an official one, well, there's no such thing as an official one anymore because it's out of production for a long time. But just putting out something people could use. Yeah, pretty long time.
30
point
years
out,
at this
an
point,
alternative. Yeah. People liked it so much, I thought, there's potential here to put out other proxy models for people. Mm-hmm. But there's always the concern that is it too close to somebody else's model that they'll come knocking.
Yeah.
So that's when you start to think, right, I need to make this my own thing. It needs to have its own background. It needs to be justified why I'm making a range of them. And that's where I really started looking into the background of Vermeer. And it's quite interesting what you do find about it.
It is.
There's a dedicated group just for them on Facebook, and you've got Graham Davies on there, who essentially invented them as far as background and stories go. And then you've got a combination of Jez Goodwin, sculpting, Nick Bibby sculpting, and then I believe Anthony Atland and Paul Bonner doing the artwork. Mm-hmm. The artwork was pretty much a copy of Alan Lee. I can't remember what the piece is called, but he's drawn essentially a little fact Vermeer picture. Yeah. And that's where they sort of went, right, I think it was Brian Ansell saying, we want that a bit different. So they themselves, this is commonplace as you read, of Games Workshop back in the day. They did what we all do. We sort of borrowed stuff from everybody else and made it their own. But the other side of it, not just the visual side, the background side of it, lies in Irish Swede history, the invasions, which you can easily find if you just type in Fomorian. You'll get loads of information come up for that. But that really interested me because it's like, here's an existing sort of background that nobody owns. It's vague enough that you can adapt it to whatever you fancy. Mm-hmm. It's got a whole lot of mythology there. It's a really nice setting, but the whole Bronze Age and Celtic stuff go into it. I thought this is a great way for me to sort of establish my own background based on something that people are familiar with, but it's diluted enough that you can start sort of putting your own ideas into it without just reinventing it. Right. So that's where I sort of took them back a step, embraced them as Fomorians, and then just sort of went crazy from there, looking at all the histories of their battles with other races, all the names and the characters and stuff. And that's where the names of all the characters have come from.
They've all come from the Bugger invasion?
Yeah. The only exceptions are the raiders I put out recently. Mm-hmm. They are all Carthaginian names.
Right.
There's always hints. Each of the races that invaded Ireland in the Book of Invasions are from different places in Europe.
Yeah.
And it's sort of hinted that the Fomorians might be from Carthage. I quite like the idea because I think there's 7 different races, and each of them have sort of plotted at a different place from Europe where they've originated. So I'm trying to build their cultures into the concept as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, their names of when there's not enough names in the Book of Invasions, you start. I need some names. You start looking at the culture that they're inspired by. So I pulled those names from Carthaginians.
Yeah. So not only is there sculpting happening and designing and building and evolving the physical side of the work, you've got this giant world that you're now starting to put together. When do you sleep?
Yes. Generally between 2 and 5 a.m, if I'm lucky.
The creative mind and sleep, they are two things that never go together well.
I am hitting that age where you take naps during the day, when available.
Yeah, that's something I've come to enjoy and embrace. Yes, naps, they are good for me. So
it's good to recharge.
Oh, it is. It's good. It's just good to nap. Full stop. So, with Fomorians are out, and this is roughly I know I'm kind of jumping around the timeline a little bit, but this is where I start to pay attention. This is where I come across the work that you're doing. And it was with the original run where you had the warlord, the big pointing chieftain, and you had the Fomorian witch. And then you came across the Kickstarter. You brought out the Fomorian Kickstarter. Now, this wasn't the first Kickstarter you did, was it?
No. The first one I did was the tail end of, I think, 2016. And it was pretty much a whole zoo full of little alien critters.
Yeah. I
can't remember why I sort of did that. It's funny trying to think back. I know I started sculpting some random bits. A lot of them were tributes or throwbacks to sort of Rogue Trader era stuff that is quite obscure or there's nothing on the market for them. So the whole idea, I suppose, was finding this little niche, these empty bits in the market that no one had made stuff for. And people started recognising that. It's like, oh, that's a so-and-so, or these are really useful as NPCs in games or just critters and stuff. And one guy even suggested you could do a random encounter table for your sort of narrative games and throw these random bugs and stuff in there.
Yeah, I like that as a plan.
That's sort of, and that kind of made me think, I'm going to end up doing loads of these, aren't I? And I did. That became a very model-heavy Kickstarter. And it sort of tripped up a little bit because I kept going, right, next stretch goal, another model, next stretch goal, another model. And I was making these stretch goals really close together. It ended up being just tons of them. Because it only took us one extra guy to back it, and then suddenly I've got sculpted another model. There was something like, I think 9 sprues. We've ended up to 6 models on each sprue, ended up making for it.
Yeah.
And all being done in resin, so you can only do, I think, two to 3 full day in resin. So you can't overuse the molds. So it took quite a while to get all this stuff produced and then sent out. And I think I spent the best part of a week just packaging and posting it all out and checking everyone's orders and stuff. And you think, I don't want to do that again. There was just too much stuff. But I did.
I was going to say, you don't want to do it again. And then the next Kickstarter...
And this is what I mean about lessons. It's like, I've done 6 Kickstarters now.
Yeah.
That sound like a lot, but when they're sort of several months apart, it's not a lot really, and you've been doing it a couple of years. But each time you think, right, I've learnt a few lessons from this. I'm not going to do this, this, and this again. But you sort of fall into the trap. It's quite easy to do. And I suppose a lot of it's because I was looking at other Kickstarters for good ideas and stuff, and the way people do, how people run them, and the whole stretch goal thing. It's really appealing. People love backing and get more and more stuff thrown in. It's like, right, well, that seems the way I've got to do it. But you can easily be overrun with how much work you've given yourself. And then at the end of it all, you think, did I actually make a profit? Did I actually pay myself doing this? I mean, you don't go into it thinking, I'm going to end up with a mansion afterwards, but you want to be able to pay yourself a livable wage and have a product at the end of it that you can continue to sell. So you're always trying to see ways to improve, ways to speed things up. And each Kickstarter I've done, I've learnt a lesson. I haven't necessarily followed my own advice after each one, but I feel like they're getting better each time. Yeah, the Frozen Fauna, as I called it, because it was going to be conversion bits, plants, scenery, and critters.
Yeah.
But it became predominantly just critters, and I did a little bit of scenery. Didn't do any sort of props or anything in the end, but that was always on my mind to do. And then the follow-up one to that was taking the baby little vent dragon I did and doing a mother for it, because a lot of people going, everyone has to do a dragon, whether it kills them or not. Every sculptor has to do a dragon. Oh, well. I've read enough bad things about dragons that it's going to be fairly small. So I did this mother, and the whole idea was the vent dragons live in the sump, they're blind and mutated, so it looks a bit weird. I put it up as initially just a model with a base. I thought, this is small enough. I might have gone utterly to the extreme, but that seemed a good start. And then I started chucking in some eggs, some different babies, and it slowly grew into a handful of stuff, but not too much. It didn't really gain any traction at first. I think because it looked so alien, people didn't like it. So very quickly I sculpted a more traditional alternative head. And then it's dragon now. And that picked it up, and it did pretty well after I did that change to it. I'll stick both heads in the set whenever people buy it. So you've got a slightly more dragon-looking dragon, and then the weird thing that looks like what it was based on, like the baby. That was sort of a follow-up project to it. And I think after that, again, you sort of think, did I go too far to the extreme? If you only put out a couple of models and very few people like them, you're going to get, very little pickup from that. Whereas if you put out a vast range and people like 50% or more, they'll jump in on it. So he's trying to then find the middle ground. And this is what I kept finding each time I ran a Kickstarter. It's like, you see this pendulum going from one side to the other. Do I go back to doing lots of models? Do I keep it small? And you keep testing. And you find no matter how much you prepare and plan, whatever, it's never quite what you think it's going to be each time.
No. There's always the wild card, isn't there? Some kind of outside influence that you could never plan for.
Definitely, yeah. It's constantly learning stuff about it. Like running Kickstarters in November or December is always a bad idea. Because you've got to run up to Christmas. No one has any money. So naturally I ran one in November, and that didn't do too well. That was the Fluffenhammer one, and didn't do amazingly well. But it was good enough to pay myself for the work, and it set me up with my sort of initial fantasy range. It's expanding on the Fomorians, and it was good enough for me to want to do more. It was, in a sense, it was me testing the water, because up to that point I'd only done sci-fi. But I prefer fantasy. I just know it doesn't sell as well, generally.
Unfortunately,
I wanted to give it a go. It was my pet project. It was something like, if these do well and I love sculpting them, that'd be ideal. And it's done well enough that I'll do more. But we'll see how things go over time with each step. But my plan moving forward is to do these smaller ones. Just sort of 5 to 10 models roughly. If they do badly, that's done. Try something different. If they do well, do a follow-up project, same theme, offer the previous stuff, offer new stuff. As long as people keep wanting them, build what people want. If they prove to be a bad idea, it's small enough that it hasn't hurt, and you think financially you can just move to your next idea. And that's kind of was the plan with gnomes. My caster Chris at Krakon said, this is what I did with my Goblin Kickstarter. You put out a small initial range. If people like it and they want more, you follow it up with new ones. If it doesn't do well, just mark it up as a bad idea and go back to what you did before, try a new one.
But I think in your case, the gnomes have turned themselves into a giant albatross around your neck. I get the feeling that you and the gnomes are going to be together for quite some time going into the future.
I joke about them. I don't hate them at all.
No, of course not.
It's all very funny, and obviously gnomes are a little bit creepy. But the models themselves, they're fun little dwarf-like warriors. They're so small. I could put them out fairly cheap. So I think it's the most backers I've ever had, but not necessarily the most, because they are a cheaper product. I've been itching to do metal infantry, because you can mass produce it for cheaper than resin. A hell of a lot fast. I mean, the whole casting run was done in a day, whereas for resin, it takes months. It really does. That was the big problem, was the frills and fauna stuff. It was taking 3-4 months to get it all cast up. Compared to a day, there's 700 gnomes. It's a massive difference, and that's enabled me to go, right, I can make more, I can do them quicker. Whereas before I was a project every probably 5 or 6 months. Now I can do it around every 4 to 6 weeks if I'm on top of my game. So That's what I would like to do.
That is a crazy release schedule.
It is. It's a good aim. I don't know whether I can do it, but it's what I'm aiming to do. But
I wish you
teaching myself.
Best of luck.
It's teaching myself to not get carried away. So even with the gnomes, the 5 models were selling fine, and they were ready to be cast in metal. But then inevitably, I had to do a couple of stretch goals because it just felt right. So all the metal's done, and we're just waiting on some resin stock for those that picked or chosen to have the add-ons.
Yeah.
But that's something that always delays projects. Putting all these stretch goals in, it delays everything. So you always tell yourself, don't do them. But then you're sitting there for a week watching your funding, and you're like, I feel like I should be throwing extra stuff into this. It just seems the norm.
And I think stretch goals are there. They do exactly what they need to do. They get people even more interested and fevered about the product. And it does bring more people in, and once stretch goals are unlocked, you do often find people turning up and going, well, I wasn't going to, but I will now because there's extra.
Definitely, I did a weasel, of all things, as a stretch goal. And I must have got a dozen people backed it on the strength of, there's a weasel in this. And you think, it's just bizarre, the reasons why some people jump in. So I'm backing your gnomes because I want a weasel. And you're like, that's fine. I will make more weasels. There seems to be a demand for weasels.
Weasel, gnome, centaur.
There could be anything.
I know that last time we spoke, I told you about something that a friend of mine had asked, which was the Slain-inspired hedgehog warriors riding chickens.
Yes.
I'm assuming that is something that you've put straight out your mind and forgotten about. But we were talking about...
No, last time I said, and up to the chicken.
Yeah,
that's all right. I started a cockatrice a while back because the Iberian race I was building up is based. Iberia is sort of Portugal / Spain, southwest coast, and that's where the Sons of Mill come from. My world, or the Book of Invasions, and I thought, well, their national animals are, for Spain you've got the bull. For Portugal you've got the cockerel, is it?
Yep.
So the idea of throwing cockatrices, cockatrice cavalry, minotaurs and all that together as some sort of beastman race.
That's cool, yeah.
I spoke to a Spanish friend to make sure that wasn't some kind of huge insult. But no. Because you've got the whole, a lot of people do a lot of the whole bullfighting thing. As Spaniards proud of it or not, and he's like, it's fine, whether you're into bullfighting or not, we still like bulls, they're some national animal and all that. So it's like, right, okay, I'm not going to offend the whole country by doing Spanish monarchies.
And this was the day you were never allowed back into Spain again.
Strangely enough, my girlfriend's off to Spain this week, so she's threatening not to come. So yeah, maybe I am banned. Who knows?
What is this Krakon Games we hear about? But how does the world building go for you? Is it that, because you mentioned the Book of Invasions and how that's kind of inspiring you to build other stuff, and then that in turn is inspiring you to look at different parts of the world. Is it a slow, organic thing, or is it that lightning just keeps striking?
I'd say it's a slow, organic thing.
Yeah.
The ideas are always at the back of my mind. Everyone sort of dreams of putting out a game at some point or working towards it, but for me I'd like to do that, and I'm working towards that, but it's not sort of my aim.
Yeah.
I'm building into what could eventually become a game. It's not the priority.
Yeah.
It's like, if something changes, I haven't put 2 years of work into writing a game. Instead, I've put 2 years of work into releasing miniatures that people can use for lots of other things.
Yeah.
At some point, I might get around to doing the game, and then all these figures fit into it, but it's not all going to come down, crash and burn if I don't do the game, ultimately.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a guiding light where I'm trying to slot all these things together, sort of links them all to somehow. But I'm not sat here every day playtesting something and hoping to put it all out. That's sort of it's a pipe dream, but I don't let it sort of occupy my work too much.
Yeah. There's a real interest and passion in your voice when you talked about the sort of the historical and the folklore parts of the things that you've been working on and how you've been looking at things. And that's where the idea for that question comes from. Because the passion that you've got for both the sculpting side of things and for the mythology have gone massively hand in hand. Is this? Would you say this is something that you went, you know what, I've got these two passions, or is it the two have just fed each other over the years in order to get you to this point?
I think feeding each other is a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been surrounded by, you've got Warhammer world,
Yeah.
you've got Tolkien's world, various role-play games as well, you've got Rift's RPG,
Mm-hmm.
later on Warcraft, all these different sort of things that you can play, look at, you read. They're always inspiring you, the artwork, the background to it. I suppose these have sort of carved out my creative side, in the sense that this is what I imagine this species to look like.
Yeah.
Put your own spin on it. And yeah, they go hand in hand with... It's almost like I haven't had to write the background because this book of invasions exists.
Yeah.
It's sort of a sandbox with a few bits in there already that I can build around without having to sort of commit too much time to inventing it all from scratch. It's sort of like being given a half-built sculpture and then going, right, I'm going to put my own ideas into this.
And for my own time spent world building, it's always amazing how... I always find it amazing anyhow, that you'll be working away on something, you know, and then all of a sudden the part of your brain will go, oh yeah, and then there's this. And you'll go, oh, now that fits nicely. And
Yes, it's nice when that sort of just clicks.
Yeah.
It's almost like it was written for you.
Yeah. And so I'll give you an example. This is one of the weirdest moments of my life, I think, when coming to doing this stuff. I was writing a Bible for an RPG I ran years ago, set on a artificial floating island. And I was thinking about how you do an artificial floating island, and the back of my brain went, yeah, but the Hong Kong airport's on stilts, isn't it? So, yes, it is. Thank you, brain. When did I learn that the Hong Kong airport's on stilts? Because honestly, I don't know.
It's almost like it's provided for you sometimes, the way
Yeah.
things just slot together.
A synchronicity, it's
So
a wonderful experience.
Yeah. I'd like to give myself the credit of, I came up with this. It just kind of feels like something's just happened there.
Yeah.
The two together.
It's it's synchronicity, and it's a wonderful experience. And when it comes out of nowhere, it's you do always feel very good about yourself. I'm vastly aware that somehow an hour's passed, and I don't quite know how that's happened. So we'll start wrapping it up then, because I know that there's things that need to be done. So first of all, then, where can people find you? Where can people find Krakon Games? And what's been the plan for the future?
Right, well, Krakon Games, my website, you can visit. That I'm constantly improving it. It's a weird thing, being a web developer. You'd think I'd have an amazing website. It's like you just can't be bothered to do it properly. So it meets the basic requirements. I've only just got a security certificate on it, so it's now all very safe to use. I do get customers regardless, but you can get on there to find all the currently available products. some products aren't available, but there's a way you can put your email address in and subscribe. I've started putting future products and Kickstarter stuff in there so people can go, right, I want to know when this is on general release. You can just put in your email address.
Yeah.
I'm always looking at other ways to sort of remind people or reach out to them. So the website's always good for just going straight on, seeing what's new, buying stuff. My latest Kickstarter is always going to be in the header as well. It's always a good way of showing people that just sort of stumble across your site.
Yeah,
So I'm always wary as I do about 95% of my advertising on Facebook rather than everywhere else equally. So I am trying to look to other places. But yes, if you are on Facebook, we have a page and a group. They're both linked to each other. The pages I try to update every day, so there's always a bit of news on there, latest releases, information on Kickstarters and what I'm currently working on. The group's probably the best place to see my daily work in progress for Sculpts or just to talk to me generally. Pretty much online all the time, so I'm happy to have a chat, or if you've got any ideas or requests or anything, I always take them on board. A lot of the Frills and Fauna stuff was just people throwing suggestions at me, so there's always a good chance if there's something you really want to see sculpted, I'll take it on board if I can fit it in the range somehow. Beyond them, I suppose you could follow me on Kickstarter. The best place to be is the website or on Facebook at the moment. Physically, I don't really have a store, I think, but I have started going to trade shows. I went to Robin in Nottingham this year. I'll be again next year. If you're in or around Norfolk, I'll be at Diceni, I don't know how to pronounce that one. I was actually involved in helping organise that, so I'll be over there with my little table and stuff, and a banner as well. I am looking to do more trade shows, but it's...
You'd be amazed how good a banner takes you. A banner will take you
this is the thing, it's a lot of money to have a very pretty stand, and if I'm not making too much at the show, it's kind of like, should I be buying all this stuff for displaying banners and so on when it's not making the money to pay for it? So it's kind of juggling with the ideas at me of what sort of minimum, where am I sort of lacking on things.
Yeah.
Obviously the priority is to have lots of stock to be able to sell.
That's always a good start, yeah.
Yeah. If people don't know you're there or can't see you or you haven't got painted figures, it's pointless having loads of stock that no one wants to buy. So, again, that's all very new to me. So, I'm taking on board every bit of advice and looking at other people's stands and stuff for tips.
Yeah. I remember last time we talked, you were saying you were surprised at how much you were welcomed into the community as a whole at the shows, and advice was getting shown back and forth.
Yes, with one very small exception, everyone's been very welcoming, very helpful, very friendly. I started out just doing commission sculpts for people. Very quickly picked up by companies out there, Macrocosm. I did a fair bit of work for it first, and that sort of encourages to do more. And for me, I can get my own models done and do commissions on the side, and it's finding the balance for you. But certainly, casters, it's obviously in their benefit to reach out to you and talk to you and whatever, because you give them business.
Yeah.
But I've been so impressed by how sort of helpful people have been. It's it's an incredibly welcoming community. I suppose everyone's in the same boat. They're all just about making enough money. They're all small businesses, so everyone does help each other out, and it's a nice industry to be in as a small company. You'd think there'd be a lot of competition, and I suppose there is, in a sense, when ranges clash. The people behind the companies are all very friendly and helpful, and it never sort of reaches that. Oh no, I'm not going to talk to you. You're selling the same stuff to me. Everyone's just been really good about it. So
it's an ongoing evolution of landscape, basically, isn't it? It's the scenery has to keep changing because nobody knows what the next big thing is going to be. People get all the stuff together, get it sold, and then hopefully a few of them will make it. That'd be nice.
It's strange. You turn up at a trade show thinking, right, do some hard selling to customers here, but I'm going to go see all my friends and talk to them at stands and stuff. So it's good to have someone else to man your stand, because everyone's running around as you go, talking about plans and swapping business and stuff.
From all of my years of doing stuff at conventions, I'm always going to say you need to have two people at a stand.
Yes, definitely.
You're at a table, you need two people, because there's points where you cannot physically man that table for a few minutes. You need to be somewhere else. So, yeah, always bring a friend. Get them drunk or something during the night, but, always bring a friend. So, with all that being said then, fella, is there anything else you'd like to quickly pimp out or make people aware of?
Certainly, yeah. On the 26th, the Michaelings, which are the mushroom people, are hitting Kickstarter. This is my second small metal model run. Like I said, I'm hoping to try and do one once a month. We'll see how it goes and whether the casters are all able and winning. This is sort of in between Gnomes 1 and Gnomes 2.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of, there's 5 of them, mushroom guys. They're going to be available in resin and metal. It's pretty much the standard format for anything I do. I'm done in resin first, due to the clay I use to sculpt with, and then into a metal mould. So everyone has their own preferences. Some people love metal, hate resin. Some people vice versa. So I just offer in both. Then you've got both customers happy. Like I said, it's just going to be the 5 guys, possibly a couple of resin stretch goals. Nothing major. If that does well, I'll do more. If it doesn't, they're done. They're ticked off. Back onto Gnomes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's pretty much all I've got to advertise at the moment.
I'm not going to lie to you. I am struggling the urge to jump onto the Fungus People Kickstarter.
Because again, it's testing the water. People like them. I'm happy to have more. I really enjoyed sculpting them.
They look like fun guys.
Yes, I get that joke 10 times a day.
I had fun, you might. Yeah.
Even when I say up front, I've not heard this joke. Everyone posts it. But hey, every comment is a bump on
it's true.
Forum or so on.
Yeah, anything that people put down, it pushes up the Facebook protocols. So,
yeah.
Keep
those terrible bumps coming.
Even though there might not be much room for them.
As is room for them.
Right then. Well, with all that being said, thank you very much. I'll say that again. Thank you very much, Ross, for coming on. It has been a pleasure speaking to you.
Yes, it's been fun again. I hope this was recorded.
Yes, I've been sitting here watching the waveform throughout, just to be on the safe side. Right,
yes,
so
good to speak to you again. Happily do more in the future if you need me back.
Yeah. Well, I think as you carry on doing more Kickstarters and as Krakon Games evolves, I think it'd be quite fun to get you back on each time and see what's going on. Probably not for each Kickstarter.
Tell you about the lessons that I'm not following.
Yeah. I was thinking they're probably not for each Kickstarter, as you seem to be doing one every 3 weeks now.
I'll be crazy to do 3 weeks, but yeah, as quick as my casters can go, I'll make the best of them.
Yeah. So, with all that being said, we will jump back to Adam in the past.
And hello again, my little ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so there you go, that's the interview. I actually really enjoyed sitting around and chatting with Ross. The guy's a good guy and he's got a load of stuff that I'm really interested in spending far too much money on. I'm going to list everything he's got down in the comments so you can go and check it out. I hope that the recording wasn't unlistenable to you. I really do. It's just one of those things that nothing could be done
to do it any better than it already was. And as we'd already tried to record it once and it completely collapsed in on itself, yeah, to be honest with you, I think Zencastr might be a thing that we're not going to use. We might have to rethink how we're recording stuff, because we're having so many issues with it in getting shows out. It's not good. But anyhow, with all that being said, I'm going to get out of here and let you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much for listening and sticking with us through this. I hope you enjoyed the interview, and I hope you go and spend a lot of money at Krakon Games. All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.